Hi, it's Dean at Extreme Motorsport here. Today we're going to sort out the calipers for the Z3M. These are off M135, they're Brembo calipers. So what we're going to do is we're going to rub these down, mask up the pistons, take the bleed nipples off and blank those off. Also we have the bit where the brake hose goes in, so we need to cover that up, otherwise we're going to get paint and primer in there. So we'll first take the bleed nipples off. I mean, ideally it'd be easier not to do it hanging up like this, but I thought I'd get them hanging up in front of the camera so we can see how we're going to get these calipers looking nice. Now if I'd left these in, I could have masked them up, but if I'd left them in, there is a chance obviously we're going to get a build up of paint around the thread here, which could be harder to undo when I want to bleed them. You can see that's quite tight anyway. Also what it could do is if you get a nice build up of paint or primer around there, when I crack them off it could crack the paint, and if it doesn't look terrible at the time, it's cracked it and it will allow the ingress of water, and that will eventually have the paint coming off, so we don't want sort of 6 months down the line having to repaint these because we couldn't bother just to take those off. Now the easiest way to blank these off is you can get these little plastic blanks, but with this it will cover quite a bit of the area that you're wanting to get some paint on as well, and you don't always get those with a new caliper. So what I use is I just use the ends for making the brake pipes. So if you go back on one of my other videos, you'll have seen that I use these to make the ends for the brake pipes. What I do is I just screw those in. Obviously you are going to get a little build up of paint on here as well, but because these go in a lot further, you've got a bit at the very top where there's no thread, so I'm hoping that will be a lot thinner and less chance of build up of paint on the thread and making it wider. So I've done this before and it works a lot better than just leaving the bleed nipples in. So again, I'm going to put one in where the brake pipe goes, or brake hose should I say, goes as well. Again, screwing that all the way in by finger so that the thread's gone. So there we go, we've got both of those blanked off now. Let's do the other side. You can send your calipers off to get powder coated. There's all sorts of colours you can have powder coated, and to be honest, powder coating is probably longer lasting. We've already had a load of bits sent off to the powder coaters and come back. Unfortunately we're running out of time a little bit here, so what I'm thinking is we'll do it this way. It'll be just as fine, if the paint won't come off, it'll be a proper job, and the colour I've got, I don't think the powder coaters we use do that colour. So Ben doesn't know the colour of his calipers yet, he's left it down to me. If it was 100% down to me and I wasn't thinking of whether Ben would like it or not, I'd probably go green, a luminous green. That's what I had on my 370 on the black car, stands out, looks banging. But Ben said to me, I think it was silver or black first, and then we was at the BMW show and Rolls said red, So we've gone with the options of silver, red, black. I've gone with red because I think a black car with red calipers or green calipers personally. But what I'm going to try is we've got a Ferrari red pearl. So we're going to try that first and see what that looks like. If Ben doesn't like it, it's not the end of the world because I can just go over them again. I've got a base on there, it's all nice. Give them a little key up with some Scotch-Brite and they'll be absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keel these up with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. I'm going to do it with fast drying degreaser. So as I'm keying it up, I'm also degreasing it at the same time. So it looks like these calipers, although they're new, have been sat on the shelf for a while and they've got a bit of corrosion on them. Nothing bad, it's not deep, it's just surface stuff. And also there's a few little bits where there's been stickers or something. So I'm gonna get this all degreased and rubbed down, and then just skip forward a little bit while I'm doing this, and otherwise this video is going to be about 6 hours long. You can see the difference between these two. So you got slightly different colour with a little bit of surface corrosion. And see, this is all keyed up, a slightly different shade where it's not dirty. And then we'll give that another clean just before we paint it.
Get on my head. 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 Get on my head.
So now they're all the calipers are masked up, the calipers are all keyed up. I've degreased them a couple of times, once while cleaning, while rubbing them down, and again afterwards. I'm going to degrease them again now. Just to touch on the subject of why I'm masking up the caliper pistons. If they were the original ones off the car or second hand and I was refurbishing them, I'd pop the pistons out. You can do that with an airline, but make sure your hand's not in here. Put a block of wood or a couple of old pads in there and then just blow the airline down where one of the hose lines go to or the bleed nipple goes to, and the pistons will pop out. I'm not doing that, it's because they're brand new calipers. There's no reason for me to take them out. I mean, I could pop them back in, no problem. But there's also, in my opinion, no problem with just masking up the piston a little bit, because if I pop the pistons out, I've got to mask up the piston bores anyway. Because if I let paint go in the piston bores, obviously it's going to make the gap where the piston goes in smaller, so they're either going to rub, damage the seals, could do a number of things, not fit, and then you've got some nicely painted calipers that you're having trouble getting the calipers in, and you've got to rub it all down to get them all to fit. When I might as well just mask up the outside of the pistons. They sit really flush on these. None of the rubber goes over the outside of the caliper, nowhere more than I would mask up anyway if I was masking up the piston bores. It just seems a pointless exercise on a brand new set of calipers, taking them out. My personal opinion. If you think different, then obviously let us know in the comments. But I've done hundreds of calipers like this. Obviously it's normally best in a workshop, in a body shop environment sort of thing, or in an oven. Unfortunately, we are looking for a new premises, so if you know any, let us know. But at the moment, to spend a bit more time with the family, I'm doing quite a bit from home. And this car is actually at home, as you know from the previous videos. So it also proves to everyone that everybody can do this at home. Not everyone's got maybe the experience I've had of doing it. Not saying I've got loads of experience, but obviously I've been a painter, been in the body shop, been in mechanic side of things, quite a few different places. But there's probably 50% of the stuff I've learned is off of other people or YouTube or Google, and just doing it. So don't be afraid. If you want to do it, go for it, give it a try. If you mess it up, at the end of the day, it's a car and it's parts. You're not hurt anyone. And then you can just sort of give us a call or something, and then we can have a look at it for you. So small light stuff like this, you can paint your calipers on the car. Might even do a video like that one day of showing you how to do it all without taking all your brakes apart and doing it on old calipers. So my next car I get, we'll do that. We'll do a video painting the calipers up, rubbing it all down in place. Ideally it's best to do it off, because you don't want to get all the places on the pads and the discs, but it can be done on the car, not a problem. So we'll do a video of that as well. So I've degreased these again, gone over them with a microfiber. I'll get any little dust particles. You can go over it with a tack cloth as well, but at the end of the day, these are calipers. They're not going to be the bonnet of a car. They're going to look mint. We're going to get some primer on them. So we're going to use Built Hamber Electrox. Now this is like an etch primer, and it's an anti-corrosion as well. So it gives a long-term anti-corrosion. So this is what we used on the seals of the Z3M as well. So we put a coat of this. Then we went on with a high build, and then we went on with an epoxy mastic. Now this is a 2-stage. You put an activator with it. What's this? And then you can either thin this down and spray it on, because you can buy their own thinners as well. But what I find is best, because if you're going to spray it on with a spray gun, it goes on really thin and really light, and it's hard to get it through the gun. You can spray it on with like a underseal gun, but I found the best way is just literally get a mini roller, small roller, with a sponge end on it, and just roller it like you was painting a wall. Get all in your little areas, and it puts it on thicker than you can paint it on. It gives you like an orange peely effect, like the OE sort of effect that goes on there. So that's how we did the BMW. I will try and do a complete video of the whole BMW, start to finish, and talking you through a few more things that we've done on that. So we're going to put a coat of Electrox on first. Now in between coats it's 2 to 3 hours, but it depends on the temperature and where you're doing it. I'm going to put the heater on in here, which is probably going to get up to a good 30 degrees. So I should be able to put a second coat on as soon as it's sort of touch dry or tacky on the inside. You leave it too long between coats, then obviously they're not going to bond together and stick together as well. One thing to note if you do use this is if you're going to use a high solvent paint, like normally like an aerosol is quite high solvent, it is best to leave it for like 96 hours. It's what it says on the tin, but I found a couple of coats of this. We can leave it overnight, and then tomorrow we can come back and we put a couple of coats of high build on there. And high build, I'll leave it in here for an hour probably with the heater on, probably about 30 odd degrees, and then I'll be able to go over and rub out any imperfections, and then we go straight on with the paint. So as much as I'd like to get this all done in one go with this, the primer and the paint, unfortunately that's going to be another video. Okay, so I left the calipers for probably half hour, 40 minutes, went and had a coffee, because I wanted to get the temperature up in here a little bit really. So as you can see, calipers are actually at 21.4. This one's at 19.7, so that's perfect really, because it's not going to be too cold for the paint. And like the rest of the sort of between 18 and 20 degrees in here. So I'll put a coat of the built Hamber Electrox on here, and then we'll leave it for a couple of hours, see how it is with the heat on in here, and give it another coat. So even the can's 19.5 degrees, so that's all good. Okay, I think I got that coated up. So let's get the heat on in here, warm it up, leave it for a couple of hours, come back to see how they got on. Okay, so it's been 2 hours. The Electrox has been left to dry. It's perfectly fine now for me to give it another coat. And the temperature is of the calipers are 25 degrees. 23 degrees, that's perfect for the paint curing, and having no moisture stuck underneath the paint, or dampness or water getting in there on the caliper. Also, if you let it flash off too hot and too quick, you can get wet. The outer skin of the primer dries and underneath doesn't, and then you get popping afterwards with bubbles coming through. We're going to give it our second coat. Okay, just about managed to squeeze the second coat out of that can, so we better get some more of that ordered up. Really do like the built Hamber stuff, it's really good. This is the first time I've tried this on calipers though, so a couple of coats of this, and then some high build, and it'll be interesting to see how long they last before they start corroding or anything. So maybe we could have Ben's car back in a few years and just check over the whole car again, calipers, seals, and just see how long it's all lasted and how well it's held up. And as I said, this stuff, best leaving it overnight before I start adding the old high build on there. Let it cure off and then we'll check it over tomorrow. So unfortunately, yeah, that's another video. But please like, subscribe, all of that other jargon, share, comment, whatever you want to do. Good or bad feedback is always welcome. Again, if you something you would do a different way, let us know. But also what I want you to do for me is if you could copy the link from whether you're watching this, whether it be YouTube, TikTok, whether down the road, whatever you're doing, wherever you're watching this, just share the link to everyone in your phone contact list, so we can just get everyone looking at these videos and get Street Motorsport out there. And the more Street Motorsport gets out there, the more we can do videos for your average Joe that can do their own stuff at home.